My screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty, so welcome everyone to the Garbage and Recycling Advisory Committee meeting on November 10th, 2022. My name is Paku Vang and I am your moderator for tonight. We all should be connected to this broadcast via audio, and this broadcast is being recorded and will be posted to the Washington County Solid Waste and Recycling website 1 week from today. We have times on the agenda specifically for public comment. When that time comes, the public can use the raise your hand feature at the bottom to participate in the conversation. And if you have any trouble, you can use this Zoom link to help you or to ask for help. And then we are not having any translation service for tonight, but some best practice. Please speak clearly and in a normal tone. One person should speak at a time. And again, use the raise your hand feature if you need to ask a question. And then just some bylaw reminder that only the committee chair may recognize a public attendee, and public attendee can use the raise your hand feature to ask a question when the time has come on the agenda for this specific business for them to participate. And then I think that is about it for introduction. I'm going to stop sharing my slide. And I am going to do roll call. So give me just a minute. Okay, so Chair Ashvin Nagaraja.
Yep. Hi.
Perfect. Vice Chair Sandra Smith.
Hi, I'm here. My video seems not to be working right now.
Okay, no problem. Community member Leslie Albert.
Present with the dogs as well.
Nice. Community member Hannah Carson.
Present.
Okay. Community member Myra Hernandez. Okay, she's not here. Community member Pete Pastor.
Present.
Community member Sue Shade.
Present.
Washington County staff member Tom Eggleston.
Here.
And industry member Vinod Singh.
I'm here.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it back to you, Ashvin.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for hosting us, Paku, this evening. Hi, everybody. We can just jump into the first item. I don't have too much of my voice today. The GRAC Communications and Solid Waste Recycling Program updates.
Thanks. I'll go ahead and get started. And Kathy, if you have anything to add, please do. Just a few updates here. I wanted to share an update with the committee on the Recycle Plus program. It's been in place for about 4.5 months now, I think. Started on July 1st. We are up to around 940 customers subscribing to the program. So we're pretty excited about the uptake, hoping to be across the 1,000 customer finish line by the end of the year, which I think will be pretty easy to achieve. Some hiccups in the beginning with bag quality and online sign up options that I think have been resolved for the most part. We continue to get some community member feedback, and we try to maintain dialogue with folks that are seeking some answers to questions about how to use the program or offering suggestions on how it might improve experience for them. So we're trying to work with folks to come up with to share ideas and look at this thing through continuous improvement. We're also preparing to send out a mailer here in the next couple of weeks that will go to the subscribers of Recycle Plus, so about 940 households, about a special collection drive in January, which is going to focus on string lights, so Christmas lights. Next update, do we just kind of report back on where we are with our reduced rate program implementation? You might remember that your committee made a recommendation to the board earlier this summer that in lieu of a residential rate decrease, we implement a reduced rate program for folks that are considered low income, as in making less than 185% of the federal poverty level. We are in the final stages of executing a contract with Community Action. Community Action will be our agency that will be doing the screening and evaluation, kind of the intake process for community members that are signing up for the program. They will receive the applications through a direct portal, and we'll all be able to link to that portal from websites from the county and from service providers. And they will do their evaluation to check if community members qualify. And then they would spit out a report once a month to the haulers that includes any community members in their service areas that are qualified for the reduced rate. And then the haulers would adjust their rates from there. So we're still working out the fine tooth details, but we do have our vendor secured, and we are about to get that contract executed. We're hoping to start sharing information with community members and haulers through our normal avenues, social media and mailers at in mid-December, and the program will officially start on January 1st. So we're looking forward to that. We do expect it's going to be a ramp up period, but we're looking forward to implementing it. Another cool thing about this program, we were, excuse me, frog in my throat. We were invited to AOR this year, which is the Association of Oregon Recyclers Conference. And Aaron gave a presentation about the reduced rate program, and I think it was received well. And we had a lot of questions from different jurisdictions across the state looking at how we modeled the program. And I know there was even some specific questions from Mid-Valley, like the Eugene area, looking at our consultants and trying to talk about how that program might fit into some other jurisdictions. So that's always a cool thing to see come out of some of this work. Another update, the Hillsborough landfill franchise agreement was renewed by the Board of Commissioners. So your committee provided that recommendation to the board at your last meeting. We got the approval from the board at the beginning of this month. I think it was the November 1st meeting. And now we've initiated our final contract execution phase with Hillsborough landfill. Exact same agreement in terms that your committee reviewed and sent forward were the same ones the board reviewed and approved unanimously. So the board appreciated the work of staff and the committee, and they were really excited that you guys all got to go on that tour and thought that was a great opportunity for community members to learn more about the system and the facility specifically. Also, we just wanted to thank you all for kind of learning with us on our strategic planning process. We shared a couple draft documents. We got a little bit of feedback, but I'm not going to take that as that means we're hitting the nail on the head. But we're still looking for feedback if you have any on the strategic plan work. I know Kathy shared out a draft version in the notes. We're pretty much right at the finish line on finalizing that plan. We're doing some design work on the final document to make it publish ready. And we're also working with a team in our director's office that does metrics work, research and evaluation work, and they're going to help us build kind of a measurement dashboard that we can use internally to measure towards our progress on the strategic plan and the indicators that we've selected. And then last update here, our bulky waste voucher program is now starting. So we have worked with the Hauler Association and Metro, and we have acquired funding for bulky waste vouchers. We have identified, I think, 7 large multifamily communities throughout the county that we are going to start with, and we're going to be delivering vouchers to those communities. The property managers will decide if they want to offer their tenants those vouchers directly, or if they want to try to manage and consolidate the bulky waste on their property at a certain place, and then the property manager would work directly with the hauler to have that picked up. So we're going to see how that goes. The first wave of vouchers is about to go out in the next couple of weeks, and they're good through March. So it's going to be a good opportunity for us to learn how that goes and see how future models might work in a similar scenario where we have tenants kind of directly requesting bulky waste services, either through their land owners or their landlords or the haulers directly. And another part of that project, Sue, I see your hand, and I'll the other part of that project is the cleanup project. It was kind of a workforce development project in partnership with Open Door Housing Works. And that contract has now been executed as well. So Open Door Housing Works, we're gonna have a kickoff meeting in the next week or two. And their cleanup crews are gonna start working around the community, just cleaning up roadside litter or trash near and around homeless encampments. And they're working with folks that are or have previously been homeless, and they're looking for kind of job skills development work. And so the crews are gonna be managed by a full-time permanent staff person that works at Open Door, and then they're going to be working with folks to help them either get experience or bring them on board if they're willing to work and able to work over, I think, 600 hours or $600 in pay requires them to actually bring them on as a paid employee and report it to the IRS, is my understanding. So they're kind of working through those details. Sue, go ahead.
Tom, just a quick question for the voucher program. Is it a scattered area that you are providing these to multifamily housing
Yes.
places, or?
So we have a couple prioritization things we're using to prioritize where they're going. First is multifamily. So we want to try to get as many out into multifamily settings because we know bulky waste collection is challenging in those settings. And then secondly is we're working within equity focus areas, which is a metro kind of defined area based on several different criteria. They have a web page dedicated to their data set that looks at equity focus areas. So we're kind of focusing in those areas. And the first ones, I think many of the first ones we're working with are organizations like Bienestar and Oregon Housing Community Development. So they're kind of nonprofit, low-income housing service providers, and we have relationships with those organizations. And so those are the types of places we're starting with, and then we're going to kind of grow out from there. We're also have some vouchers that are going to be available to our code enforcement program. And they're developing some criteria that if they're working with an individual that has a nuisance violation on their property and they can't afford to clean it up with a dumpster, or they're facing some other barriers, that we would be able to kind of help offer assistance through a bulky waste voucher or even a Dropbox voucher for those folks, just to see if that's another tool that we can use in our code enforcement process to kind of help cure some violations. That's it for me. Kathy, anything from you?
Sure, I can go into calendar updates and committee news. Not a lot. Next, just as a heads up, next month, items before this committee are certificate review, which is basically a staff report from me on 2 of our haulers, Garbarino and Republic, and how it's kind of a look at how they comply with our service standards and our rules and code. The code requires that over a 4-year period, we review all the haulers, and we're down to the point where we can just do 2 a year in order to meet that requirement. And it doesn't actually go to the board. It's in the form of a staff report with findings. So our goal is that prior to bringing it to the GRAC, we will meet with each hauler and go through our findings and talk about if there's areas for improvement, how that might happen, so that when we come before GRAC, we'll have plans for anything that might need a little bit more work done. So that's next meeting. Also, Megan Schuler, our education and outreach supervisor, is planning on coming and giving a general overview of what her staff is going to be working on. She oversees the education and outreach staff. So we have a pretty packed meeting in December. My plea is that beginning in January, for a few months, we don't have any defined action items right now. So if you have a topic of interest that you might be interested in seeing if we can bring someone in to do a presentation or have a discussion, I'd be happy to explore those options. Just shoot me an email or call me, either one. I think other than that, that's all I got.
Thanks, Kathy. So next item is oral communication. See if we have anybody signed up.
I don't see any hands up, Passion.
Three attendees. No
No.
one signed up for oral communication. All right. So we can dive into the action item then. Certificate transfer for West Slope Garbage. Is it,
Sure.
Kathy, are you presenting this one?
I am. Just give me a sec to share my screen. And so good evening. For the record, my name is Kathy Folsom. I am a senior policy coordinator with the Solid Waste and Recycling Division. And I'm here tonight to discuss the proposed transfer of sanitary service certificate number 10 from West Slope Garbage Service to Evergreen Disposal and Recycling, Inc. To get started, the Washington County Code allows for the transfer of an entire certificate or a portion of the certificate after filing an application and requires that a finding is made that the transfer meets all applicable requirements of the code. The proposal in front of you impacts 300 urban service level residential customers and 15 commercial customers in unincorporated Washington County only. After the submittal of the transfer application, staff reviewed and determined that Evergreen Disposal and Recycling has sufficient equipment, facilities, and personnel to meet all applicable service standards. And after the transfer is completed, John Romero, the current owner of West Slope Garbage, will be an equal owner of Evergreen Disposal and Recycling. Evergreen Disposal and Recycling will continue to provide residential and commercial collection services. Dropbox collection service will continue to be provided through a subcontract with Washington County Dropbox. And currently, West Slope doesn't have any medical waste collection customers in unincorporated Washington County. Per the county code, Evergreen Disposal and Recycling will continue to charge all applicable Washington County rates. It's a little hard to see, but this map shows the West Slope areas that will be transferred. Generally, it's south of Highway 26, east of Highway 217, and then Southwest Canyon Road. It's both north and south. It's kind of that area over in Beaverton on the other side of 217. In closing, based on the finding that Evergreen Disposal and Recycling, Inc. meets all applicable requirements, staff is recommending that your committee favorably recommend to the board, the Washington County Board of Commissioners, that sanitary service certificate number 10 be transferred to Evergreen Disposal and Recycling, Inc., subject to the requirements for reporting outlined in the staff report. If approved by the board, the transfer would be effective the first day of the month after board approval, and the service area and certificate number 10 would now become part of Evergreen Disposal and Recycling sanitary service certificate number 2. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions you might have. I'm going to stop sharing my screen unless someone has a question about a slide.
Can you go to the map real quickly, Kathy?
Sure.
Just curious, is all the areas surrounding that, does that all belong to Evergreen?
No, actually the area, so where you see these like diagonal hash marks, those are all city limits, Beaverton. So West Slope actually has a much bigger, well, a larger territory than what's shown here, but these are the unincorporated pieces of West Slope.
And
Okay.
Kathy, hasn't the city already, haven't they transferred their certificate with the
have.
city?
They
Okay.
have been approved last month, or kind of toward the beginning of October, they received approval from the Beaverton City Council.
Question, Vinod?
I was just gonna, I don't know if the county has it, but you, on the Metro website, you can get the franchise map, and it'll show you where all the haulers are and where their franchise area is. Does the county have something like that, or that's just Metro?
We actually use MetroMap because it's so much easier to use than the county's version.
Go ahead, Sandra.
If I remember, we have 11 certificates currently.
We actually had 10 and now we'll have, now
9.
we'll have 9.
Okay, so we have 9 different haulers instead of 10.
Don't we only have 9 haulers? 2 of the certificates are acquired.
Yeah,
by
we
one?
have 8 haulers and 1 more certificate.
Yeah, we have 9 haulers. 9 haulers and 2 disposal facilities. So,
Right
And we
now.
will have 8 haulers after this.
Exactly.
yes.
Okay.
And do we have, I didn't have a chance to go through our bylaws and all that to know do we have a limit on the percentage that one hauler can have of all of our area?
No, the,
I mean, I know this is small, so I'm not concerned about it, but
so the certificates are dictated by what Washington County Codes allows. And the code, much of which was written a long time ago when they first, obtained the certificate system, doesn't have any limitations as to the number of certificate holders, the size of the geographic area, or anything like that. All of the requirements are about the ability to provide service and the continuity of service and, sort of those aspects.
Speaking to that though, Sandra, Waste Management is our largest
yeah.
certificate holder and they serve over 50% of the
Yeah.
customer base is my understanding, is what I think it looks like.
Yes.
In unincorporated, Evergreen currently serves a really tiny customer base, mostly rural. I think they have
All rural.
only have about 350 current customers. So they'll be up to 600 customers, which is 1/10 of 1% or something like that, or 1% of our customer base, something like that. Most of their business is in the city of Hillsborough, city of Cornelius, and then this will add some Beaverton and unincorporated to them as well.
You wanna ask your question, Sue?
Yes, and I don't know that this really it has no bearing at all on the outcome of our approval of the transfer. I'm just curious if there is a connection with Jeff Walker. Is he still connected with Walker Garbage Service? And is Evergreen just an offshoot of Walker Garbage, or is it a separate entity? I'm just curious about that.
So there's some commonality in ownership. So Jeff or John Romero owns West Slope. He and Jeff Walker co-own Evergreen, and that will continue even after the West Slope assets are transferred to Evergreen. And then Jeff Walker and another Walker own Walker Garbage. So, and then they also own Washington County Dropbox. So it made a lot of sense, I'm sure, for the transfer to go from West Slope to Evergreen, since they already have a lot of common ownership and operations, et cetera.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Bernard. Yeah, you muted yourself there before you.
I muted,
Yeah.
unmuted. Somebody has to do it. So Evergreen was Cornelius and somebody else before. I'm forgetting who that was.
Douglas family, right?
Okay.
Gary Douglas.
So up until 2019, Cornelius Disposal, and then we had a transfer similar to this, moving Cornelius Disposal into the new Evergreen Disposal and Recycling.
Yeah, I think they had bought it at that point and changed the name. So it's sort of on the same path, I think.
And it's all the same ownership group that owns Washington County Dropbox. So they had kind of created the Dropbox service that they subcontracted to as an ownership group. And so it just seems like a continual consolidation in that ownership group in a sense.
I will say that just in terms of scale and West Slope has an owner and one employee, so it's pretty small operations. But very valuable because they're serving an area for a very long, a number of years.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Or concerns? If not, I don't know if someone wants a motion for a recommendation to accept the transfer. I don't think I can motion myself, so.
I move to transfer the ownership of certificates.
I
One
second.
Thanks. Paku, could you do us a vote roll call?
I'm sorry, say that again, Ashvin?
We need to do a vote.
Oh, yeah,
and
sure,
The way we've been doing it, if you could roll call and then we'll give you a
sure.
recommend, not recommend.
Ashvin,
Yep, recommend.
Sandra Smith,
I recommend.
Leslie Albert,
Recommend.
Hannah Carson,
I recommend.
Thomas Eggleston.
Tom's not a voting member.
I don't get to vote.
Oh, you don't? Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. Pete Pastor,
I recommend.
Sue Shade,
I recommend.
Vinod Singh,
I think I'm in the same boat as Tom, right?
No, you're a voting member unless you want to
I
abstain
am,
for
that's
some
right.
reason.
Oh, no, I recommend. I couldn't remember what the hell that went. Okay, yes, I recommend.
great. I think that's all the people that are present, all the community member that are present. Sorry, I cannot speak tonight.
Yep, thank you for doing that. Thank you, Kathy, for the presentation. And the last item is just oral communication. If we have anybody signed up in the public attendees who would like to comment.
I don't see any hands up in the public attendee pool.
Yep. So I think that is it. Quick meeting. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, staff.
Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful
Thanks,
evening.
everyone.
Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there.
Yes, see you in
Oh,
December.
looks like we got a hand in the attendee pool if we want to.
We do. Okay, let me allow Susan Note to speak. Susan, are you able to speak? Do you see that option? Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So I have a couple questions. And let's see. So I signed up for Recycle Plus, and at first it was very difficult and challenging. But the website does seem to be up and running, but you have to drill down a little ways to get to the option to request a pickup for the purple bin. And it's just a little bit confusing when you do get to that point, whether you're requesting purple bin pickup or something else. So just a little bit of a redesign for the website there.
Susan, can you share who your service provider is so we can make sure we're talking to the right folks?
Yeah, waste management.
Okay, thank you.
WM.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, they're such a big entity. It was pretty hard initially to get through to the right department, so to speak. But that seems to have been solved somewhat. I did download the phone app, and that it's really clunky and I couldn't get it to work. But it looks like the website will be useful. It just would be nice if there was a clickable button that was readily visible a little bit sooner when you log in.
Can you clarify, Susan, the app you downloaded, is that a waste management app or is that a garbage and recycling day app?
That is it's a waste management app.
Okay.
I have
So
an Android phone.
We also have a garbage and recycling day app that should be in Google Play Store. And that,
Oh, through
that-
Washington County.
yes, and that app should be able to send you a reminder, and then there'll be a link to the waste management request to service page. So it should kind of send you the link, serve it to you in a sense.
Oh, okay, I'll check that out.
Okay.
And then my other comment, which is just sort of something I've noticed for quite some time. is that there doesn't seem to be any feedback or any consequence for people recycling incorrectly, you know, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And is there any move afoot to come up with some kind of program, not necessarily where people are penalized, but where people are just educated about what they're putting in their rolling recycle bin, like physically looking in the bin and giving feedback?
Yeah, I can say that we do have oops slips, we call them, which are like tags that would be left behind on a roll cart if there's contamination in it. And that is designed for the driver to be able to check the box on the common contaminants, I think styrofoam, and there's a couple others on that oops slip, and then hang that on the roll cart, either not collecting it because it's so contaminated, or collecting it and leaving the reminder that those things shouldn't have been in there. Now, I will say, I don't know how in some of these more automated routes where the truck is, the driver's not necessarily getting out of the cab, they're using an automated arm to pick up the bin. I'm
Right.
not sure how much those are getting used or how well they're being used. They do have hopper cameras on those trucks, so they can see what's getting dumped into the truck.
Oh,
But
interesting.
but
Okay.
again, what's happening with that data and information is not necessarily consistent or standardized. That is something that is going to be improved upon with the new statewide legislation, the Recycling Modernization Act. Actually
Okay.
allocates money to local governments and service providers to improve contamination reduction programs. So that could include new technology to use that hopper camera data, or to help fund more
Okay.
substantial cart tagging efforts. So there's stuff
Yeah.
happening, but probably could be more. And I think there's going to be more in the future.
Okay, because my casual observation, and everybody in my neighborhood knows I'm kind of a recycling nut. So I don't think anyone's offended if I peek in their recycling bin. And, you know, there is a lot of contamination. Some of it may be corrected with the purple bin because now people can recycle clamshells, and a lot of people put those in.
Yeah.
And then I think other plastic material, like toys, or I don't know, real miscellaneous stuff, or stuff that's styrofoam. I don't know what you call that kind of, the bendable styrofoam that you can't recycle, with the kind that snaps.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it's called. Vinod's
yeah.
the expert on materials. He probably knows exactly what it's called.
Thank you, Susan. I was trying to find a thumbs up. I couldn't find it. So there's the number 6 styrofoam, the EPS, and that's the kind that snaps. There's also, that's the confusing part. There's also number 5 that looks very similar to that will break at some point, but not quite as readily. And then there's also ones that look very porous, and that's what's a number 4 or a low density polyethylene. So there's 3 different types of packing.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know those definitions. So
yeah, the number 6 is the most common though that you'll see, and then that's what they use for like coolers and when they send you pharmaceutical.
Yeah. So the other kind is often bonded to cardboard, and so people recycle that along with the cardboard. I don't know if that's an issue down, you know, is that recyclable if you have those 2 materials bonded together?
The preference would be to have that pulled off. The mills, because what would happen is if we didn't pull it off in our facility, it would go to the mill and they'd have to throw it away. And we tell everybody the worst way to throw something away is to put it in the recycle bin, because it's got to come to us, get pulled out, get thrown away, or it could end up as contamination. So
Right.
I appreciate your efforts.
So I don't think, you know, most people don't know that kind of thing. And I just feel like that a lot of people would do better with just some feedback, some friendly feedback. So that's all, that's my 2 cents worth for today.
Thanks, Susan.
But I'm very happy that the purple bin is here.
Thanks for the feedback, Susan. Sandra, did you have a comment also?
Yeah, I'm probably embarrassing myself here, but, and Kathy knows this, but I got a oops slip a couple weeks ago for, improperly recycling my batteries. I put them in a clear plastic bag with a twist tie, not knowing that they had to be in a Ziploc, which is, not the proper term for it, but a zippered quart size bag, which I did this time and they got it. But they do, well, at least my hauler puts oops slips out.
Yeah, it does seem to be kind of dependent on the hauler and the driver really often. So we try to, you know, we try to make that more standardized, and I think we're going to have more tools to do that in the future, but.
Well, and I think you're gonna see more oop slips on the purple bin because you're more hands-on with the batteries. You're touching them and removing them from that. Whereas the automation, the commingle things can get kind of buried in there. And so that's one of the problems with commingle. But it increases tonnage, so that's a good thing.
Sue, you have a comment also?
I
me?
do.
Oh.
I did not get an oops comment, but also, I guess this is a question. So we had batteries and we had no glass. And so they were in a Ziploc and I simply taped them to the recycle bin. So I don't know if that's appropriate. I don't know if they got it in the right spot. I have no idea, but the batteries were gone today. So.
You should put them in the empty glass bin. So
Oh, okay.
the biggest challenge is that the roll cart is picked up on an automated truck. So the driver rolls up, arm grabs, dumps, driver goes off. The glass, he has to get out and touch on every stop. So the driver gets out and handles the glass bin, and that allows them to pick the batteries out and put them in a separate container. So your batteries might have ended up in Vinod's mixed recycling pile, but yeah. Put them in, even if the bin's empty, just put them in the glass bin. It could be only batteries in there.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I'm
Thank you.
educated.
I'm gonna keep Vinod up tonight. He's trying to sleep.
Ashwin, it looks like Susan has her hand up again from the attendee pool.
Do you have another comment, Susan?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was unintentional.
Okay.
Thanks for coming, Susan, and talking with us. We appreciate it. At least I do. I don't know about the rest of the committee, but not very often that community members come and share with us. So we appreciate that.
Yes, very much. Well, we can close out now. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
See you in December. Bye.